Muy buenos días. Welcome to our second annual Racial Equity in Real Estate Conversations. This topic is on empowering Latino homeowners. To kick us off today, we have Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi.
Thanks, Jenny. Good morning. Morning. Thanks, everyone, for coming here today at Richard J. Daley College. I'm Fritz Kagi. I'm your Cook County Assessor, and it's really my pleasure to welcome you to our second annual Racial Equity in Real Estate event in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. The part of the city that we're in today represents a tradition of immigration as being integral to our city's identity, to our economy, to who we are. So many people live and have lived here who arrived and made their home from many different parts of the world. Not just Latinos, but people from Lithuania and Poland and the Caribbean, in the Middle East and elsewhere. This community really represents what Chicago's all about. And it's home to so much retail and commercial vitality. I grew up on the South Side, and this neighborhood is where important things happened to me when I was growing up. This is where my mom liked to go for her favorite fruit and vegetable stand to buy fruit for our home. This is where, at Ford City, is where, when I was growing up, where we saw Star Wars. This is where we go out to get restaurants. This is where we go to shop at stores. And it represented that vitality, but also my parents would point out and say, Fritz, that is the world's biggest commercial bakery over there at Nabisco. We're kind of a nerdy family, but we talk about that. This neighborhood represents so many different parts of what's going on in our economy. And because it's so integral as a part of Chicago, we need to make sure that the people who live, work, and do business here are taken care of and are not displaced. This time last year, we met to discuss the topic of advancing Latino homeownership. We celebrated the progress that's been made by many Latino communities in Chicago and Cook County when it comes to home ownership, and the challenges that come with gaining the necessary knowledge around mortgages, property taxes, and what it takes to hold on to those homes. We heard from policy experts, elected officials, real estate professionals about the barriers to entry that still exist in many Latino communities and what we can do to overcome them. Now, a year later, we come together again, but in a changed environment. Nationally, many Latino communities worry about the ongoing surge of anti-immigration policy in action, the daily fear of deportation and separation, and amid these larger fears, smaller local problems are also rearing their heads. In many parts of Chicago and Cook County, Latino neighborhoods have seen housing prices on the rise. And that raises the value of all homes in the area, which is a good thing. It means people are building equity for themselves. They're getting a return on the investment that they made, sticking through all those tough years of the housing cycle. And their families are building generational wealth. However, it also means that because my office must follow the prices set by the real estate market, there's a risk in some parts of the south and west sides or in the southwest suburbs that property taxes might continue to increase to unsustainable levels. Homeowners who could be building wealth could instead find themselves forced to move or on the outside looking in. While we must continue to confront the anti-migrant policies across the country, we can't lose sight of these local issues that affect us and our communities. We're here to talk about a theme, empowering Latino homeowners, that's central to any solution. The most important thing for everybody to know is that the Assessor's Office administers benefits and services for every single homeowner, regardless of citizenship. Anyone who owns property in America is entitled to the benefits that we administer, regardless of where you're from. You're entitled to these benefits if you own property. It's always been that way in Cook County and always will be that way. The resources we have are available to everyone, to everybody, no matter whether they're a citizen or not. And we want to make sure that that message comes through to everyone, not only the people here, but to the people that you know who might not be able to be here. We have many service organizations here today, helping homeowners and potential home buyers with resources at various levels. She was just telling me about it before I came up here today. She holds a doctorate in urban education leadership from the University of Illinois at Chicago, a master's in secondary education language arts, and a bachelor's in secondary education English, both from Indiana University. Let's give a round of applause to President Corrales.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Daley College. So as you heard, my name is Peggy Krellis, and I'm proudly serving as the interim president here at Daley, and I'm happy to give you a little bit of information about the programs and pathways that we have here at Daley. And when I'm finished, you'll see that we truly have something for everyone here. So Richard J. Daley College has a primary campus, this one that you're at, and we also have a satellite campus, our Velasquez Institute in Little Village. Collectively, these two locations serve over 13,000 students annually on Chicago's southwest side. With nearly 80% of our students, our student population identifying as Latino, the college is recognized and designated a Hispanic serving institution by the United States Department of Education and has earned the seal of Excelencia from Excelencia in Education. Daley College offers courses within 3 categories: credit programs, adult education, and continuing education. So for example, our adult education program offers free courses in English as a second language and also high school equivalency programs. At Daley, we serve just under 6,000 students annually in our adult education programs, and we run those courses here and at our satellite campus, Arturo Velasquez Institute, which we call AVI for short. In our credit programs, which is our largest area, we offer the full range of general education courses in liberal arts and sciences for associate degrees for students who are interested in transferring to 4 years and earning their bachelor degrees. We also offer workforce short-term certificates and associate degrees in programs such as community health worker, which, by the way, we offer in Spanish at our AVI Institute, cybersecurity, and our Center of Excellence programs, which are in advanced manufacturing. In our state-of-the-art manufacturing center, which we call MTech, students participate in hands-on training through curriculum that prepares them for technological advancements in the engineering and manufacturing industries. You may have been able to see it, our MTech Center, if you parked in the visitor lot and walked over that bridge. It's truly state-of-the-art. Through our non-credit continuing education courses, we offer short-term programs such as industrial sewing. This is a brand new program that we started at AVI. We have solar panel installation, and also a 911 and 311 dispatch operations. We have plenty more. I just didn't want to read the entire list, but this is just a sampling of the variety of programs that we offer. In October, we'll finally be offering swimming again because our pool is finally open. The pool, when you walk in, it's to the left. The lights are out right now, so you can't, if you peek in, you can see it. We're excited to be able to offer swimming and inviting the community to use that as a wonderful resource. So truly, we have something for everyone. We're happy to have you here today. It's so important to be accessible to our communities, and we're proud to serve in this capacity. Have a wonderful meeting, and I hope to see you all either swimming in our pool or attending courses on one of our campuses. Have a wonderful day.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Angelina Romero. I'm the Chief Communications Officer here at the Assessor's Office. And I just want to share a very quick story. I promise it'll be very quick before we start this panel. But I grew up on the east side of Los Angeles, California. Oh, thank you. So I know all too well about not being able to afford a home in the place you grew up in. Very familiar with that. So I recently, now I live in Chicago. I recently moved in, or started a family and moved to the southwest side of Chicago, and I live in Gage Park. So when I moved in, I quickly learned that we had a hole in our roof. So we're collecting, every time it would rain, we were collecting rainwater in a bucket inside our home. So I'm an employee of the Assessor's office, and I learned about the Southwest Equity Assurance Program, and they are a resource outside of this room today. They're here with us. So I actually took advantage of their program, and my partner and I applied for, it's a $20,000 loan with 0% interest, and we're able to pay it off in 5 years. So it's an incredible program, and we were able to fix our roof. So I just wanted to share that with you because I do understand how daunting and difficult it can be being a homeowner when you have these huge expenses. So I really encourage you to go outside today and visit the table. They're both here, the Southwest and Northwest Side Housing Assurance Agencies, and they're staffed by Victoria and Ivy. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and just make sure you know about these programs available to you. And I can attest as a user of them. So I promised I'd keep it short. So next, I'd like to introduce our moderator today. We have Oswaldo Alvarez, right there. He's a Chicago native with nearly 2 decades of experience spanning the nonprofit, government, and philanthropic sectors, all designed to work with and for the community. He currently serves as the executive director of the Illinois Legislative Latino Caucus Foundation, overseeing the organization's programs, operations, and development. His extensive experience and commitment to community development have positioned him as a key figure in advocating for equitable policies and fostering leadership within the Latino community. So we thank him for leading this thought-provoking conversation today, and I would like to welcome him to the stage.
And I would like to invite our panelists to please come to the stage, and I will be introducing you over here. That's okay. Thank you so much. And you will all be sharing a microphone. So maybe that one, and then you and I can share this other one over here. Hi, everyone. I got really excited with the pool. I was like, should I have brought my trunks? I didn't. It's Saturday, right? So thank you, everyone, for having me here. Thank you so much to our panelists. I am going to go ahead and introduce you. But first, I wanted to just thank everyone for being here. Again, Osvaldo from Chicago, Logan Square, Central Park, and Fullerton. Those are my corners. When you mentioned them, I was like, what? Who are you? What should be about? Right? No, just kidding. And for me, the reason, growing up here, my parents had a house, right? And so for us, I've always known that that's like a point of privilege, right? And it's really exciting to be here with you all to have this conversation. It's really exciting to be with you all here, just because as Latinos, this is like the way that we knew. This is still the way that we know. This is how we know we made it. When you own a house or when you own a place, right? So it's really exciting to be here with you all and to be able to have this conversation. So first, I'd like to introduce our Cook County Assessor, Assessor Kagan. Fritz Kagi is a Cook County assessor, born and raised in the south side of Chicago in Hyde Park. He is a proud graduate of Kenwood Academy High School. Prior to beginning his career in Cook County government, Fritz served as the financial steward, helping families save for retirement and focus on helping small companies operate around the world. Under his leadership, he has improved homeownership's access to property tax savings, launched the Affordable Housing Program, improved assessment for homeowners, and continues to work on reforming property tax system. Please join me in welcoming Assessor Kagan. Okay, and I'll get to you right now, and then I'd like to introduce right now, here in the middle, we have Dr. Teresa Cordova, if you don't mind raising your hand. Dr. Teresa Cordova, a dear friend of mine, is a director of the Great Cities Institute at the University of Illinois in Chicago, and a professor of urban planning and policy. Dr. Cordova is an expert in community and university partnerships and methodologies of engaged research. Over the years, Dr. Cordova has been instrumental in affecting economic development policy and projects the provision and design infrastructure, local governance, and neighborhood change. She also co-authored a recent study called Fuerza Mexicana, who I believe you brought some study. You brought some copies, yeah. Fuerza Mexicana, the past, present, and power of Mexicans in Chicagoland. Research from the study is featured on the poster boards and the research outside. So please check that out. Here to my right, I have my very, very dear friend. We'll talk a little bit more. You'll learn why I say dear friend. We were like really in the trenches. Helu Gutierrez is the 14th Ward Alderwoman representing parts of Archer Heights, Gage Park, Chicagoland, and West Elston. She is a dedicated, I'm from the north side, I don't know how to pronounce these things. She is a dedicated public servant who made history as the first Latina to hold the esteemed position of the 14th Ward of Chicago. Born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, Helu immigrated to the United States seeking a better future and opportunities. Helu brings her firsthand experience as an immigrant, mother of 3, and a former educator to the forefront of her work, ensuring that the voices of the 14th Ward are heard and their concerns are addressed. Please join me in welcoming Alderwoman Gutierrez. Okay, and last but not least, Edwin, we just saw each other, we were partying last night, so, if you see us a little like, what's going on? Here we have Edwin Ortiz Reyes. Edwin is the Director of Policy and Planning and Research for the Department of Housing at the City of Chicago, I believe, right? He is a fellow Puerto Rican from Humboldt Park, from Logan Square. Oh, he lives in Logan Square now. He mentioned my corners, that's why I was like, huh. And I believe that prior to this role, you were the policy analyst at Latino Policy Forum, right? So please join me in welcoming Edwin. Okay. And now with that, I do think that as a panel, I did share very deliberately the story of of my mom and the house where we are over in Logan Square, because that house is honestly like a safety net, right? But none of these things happen by accident, and everything that has been in the past and the present and the future, we need to understand the history of Latinos, the history of us buying property in Chicago, and for that, that's why I think it'll be great, Dr. Cordova, if you can just kick us off with that piece.
I want to acknowledge our wonderful county assessor, there we go, for hosting this event, not only for all the tax reform, this property tax reform, but also for hosting this event. And now there's a number of your staff that are here. This is really great. And I especially want to acknowledge Angelina Romero and Jennifer Sanchez. You guys are really great to work with, so thank you for organizing this. Also want to just acknowledge one of my team is here. I noticed he came in to join us, David Segovia, who helped me put together some of these numbers. So my job is to kind of lay context around the movement of Latinos and Mexicanos in Chicago and neighborhoods near the college. So what's a good place for this microphone? Should I have it like this or this? Right here? Okay. So we know, for example, that Mexicans, first Latino groups really to come into the Chicago area in large numbers, they start settling really in large numbers in the early 20th century, tied especially to railroad work, the steel mills, and especially the stockyards. The back of the yard, South Lawndale, later known as Little Village, became anchors, as did, of course, South Chicago. As time went on, between the 60s and the 80s, we start seeing southwest side migration. Latino families, especially Mexican and some Central American, began moving southwest into Chicago Lawn, West Lawn, Gage Park, and Archer Heights. Now, these neighborhoods historically were white ethnic neighborhoods, including folks from Ireland, they were Polish, Lithuanian, Czech, you mentioned that, I think, in your opening remarks, where white flight to the suburbs was already underway. What we saw were the Latinos moving into these neighborhoods through a kind of succession of housing markets, where they were buying or renting homes that were vacated by whites, but also they were facing redlining in other neighborhoods, contract buying, and discriminatory lending. So over time, Latinos stabilized these areas, building churches, schools, small businesses, and cultural institutions that made them strong Mexican-American enclaves. Today, these neighborhoods reflect the demographic heart of Chicago's Mexican population. So, for example, Gage Park, out of the 30,000 or so residents that are here, 84% are Mexicans. In West Lawn, out of the 25,000, 77.5 are Mexican. In Archer Heights, out of the 10,000, almost 11,000 residents, 75.5% are Mexicans. In Chicago Lawn, still the majority, but not quite as high, around 54% are Mexicans of the 28,000 residents. Some of this you can find in our Fuerza Mexicana report that you alluded to. But I don't know if you want me to go on or stop in the context, but I could give some numbers on home ownership to help further set the context. Okay. So one of the things that's good, and you mentioned this, I think, Assessor, when you made your remarks, that we have seen improvement, even over time, and even just in the last year or so with respect to even to the percentage of Latino households that now own their homes. It is still, however, lower than whites. So even though we've increased on our percentage of home ownership, the number compared to whites is lower. For example, in 2000, we had only 39%, but in most recent figures now, it's a little over 47%. The national rate is a little bit, or about the same, but in Illinois itself, it's a little bit slightly higher. And I think you alluded to this also, Oswaldo, when you were talking about how important home ownership is. Home ownership is the key way that families build generational wealth. And I think that's one of our topics here today, right, is how do we build that generational wealth? And home ownership is one way to do that. So if there's a gap in home ownership rates, then there's also a gap in the building of accumulated wealth. And so it's important then for our children, for our grandchildren, and so on to be able to have that. Another statistic that I think is important is the extent to which there's rent burden. And so a high percentage of our households are rent burdened. What does that mean? It means that over 30% of their income is being spent towards housing. So we also have higher rates of rent burden. And then it's very common for us as Latinos, and I think you see this among all Latino groups, is that we tend to be multi-generational when we live together. And that's partly a cultural thing, but it's also partly a way to save money. Now, part of that is great, right? The multi-generational, kids with their grandmas and so on. But simultaneously, it does lead to somewhat of a degree of overcrowding. But also, what it means is that you don't always get the rates of home ownership that you want to. So I could go on, but let me stop there. It gives you a feel anyway of what our numbers are, our importance, presence, because I think what's happened is that Latinos have really stabilized a lot of neighborhoods, not only in the Southwest side, but throughout the city. And our home ownership, our small businesses has been a really key way of doing that.
I just want to say thank you so much for that. Whenever someone from outside comes and visit us, and they're like, "Oh, where are the Latinos at?" I'm like, "Well, just follow Milwaukee Avenue North, or follow Archer or Ogden South, all the way to the burbs. We are all over the place, right?" And as you said, it's by no accident. It's no accident, and we are a true fabric of the part of the city of Chicago. And thank you for mentioning about the multi-generations. For a long time, that building, really, where my mom is at, it was like my sister and husband and two kids in one, us and another one, my mom is the other one. And that's how we live. It is, overcrowding, but it is home, right? And for me, the other part of the owning the house and being excited about we made it is, the other part about owning a house is we gotta pay taxes now, right? Yeah, I know. So with that, I'd like to kick it off to the assessor. Tell us a little bit about the current real estate market here where we are, right in the Southwest, and what does this mean for all of the homeowners around here?
Okay, here we go. So I think the most important thing to know about what's going on with housing markets, both in this neighborhood and in Chicago, is across Chicago, We have 77 neighborhood areas. In every one of them except one, we've seen pretty strong, steady increases in prices over the last 3 years, which is continuing a trend that really kicked off with the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. After a decade of housing prices being in the doldrums, people have really started to recognize the value that is in our homes, in our neighborhoods, including the neighborhoods right here. And so basically, there is a shortage of rental apartments in Chicago. We're at an all-time low in vacancy in apartments. And so there are lots of families out there who want to get a little bit more space, maybe they're starting to have kids. They want the availability of schools. They want the amenities that come from living in a neighborhood like the neighborhoods that were nearby here. So we're seeing homes that are, you used to be able to buy for below $200,000, moving up in the 200s, sometimes into the 300s. Now it costs about $400,000 to build a new home. So there's still a lot of value from buying a home in our neighborhoods. And folks who who owned their home before the pandemic are realizing, they're getting a return on their investment, and they're seeing these prices rise. And I think on the southwest side in particular, we've seen several years of strength here, where people are seeing, and we can talk about this with the representatives from the Chicago Bungalow Association, outside the Assurance Association. There's a lot of things that recommend our neighborhoods here. We have a lot of amenities. With that comes changes in circumstances, as you mentioned, when it comes to taxes. A lot of folks, if they owned a home back when these homes were worth under $200,000, the taxes were very low, especially if you had an exemption. And so you might not have thought about it much. But once homes start to get above $200,000, above $300,000, that's when taxes really start to pinch. And we want to make sure that everyone is taking advantage of all the benefits that are available to them. The very first one that I'd like everyone here to check, if you look to your right or to your left, if all of you are homeowners, one of you probably doesn't have the homeowner's exemption, which is worth about $1,000 a year off of your bill and can take a big chunk out of any increase that you might be feeling as the rise in housing prices is happening. And we're seeing in communities that are majority Latino, we want to make sure that everyone is signing up for their exemptions. We know that there's some issues sometimes with it. We've learned that exemption itself is kind of a word that's kind of complex. It is savings. It's automatic savings off of your bill. All you have to do is fill out a form. Everyone's entitled to it. It's for anyone who it's their main residence, regardless of citizenship. Anyone can buy property in America, and anyone is entitled to get an exemption on their home as well. And we want to make sure that among folks who don't speak English as a native language at home, might be first-time home buyer, first-generation American, or not yet become a citizen, you're entitled to these exemptions. We want everyone to take advantage. And especially if you're a senior, or if you have a senior living in your household. We know we have multi-generational folks. If you have a senior who's on the deed, they're entitled to a senior exemption on the home, which can double the impact. And if their income in the household is under $65,000, you're entitled to a freeze on your assessment, which is one of the most valuable exemptions you can get in an environment where housing prices are rising. We're trying to do other things to confront what is an affordability crisis for our neighbors who live in this community. When it comes to renters, they're very exposed to this gentrification. So we worked on getting past an affordable housing legislation in 2021, which now, if you own a building that's over 7 units and you rehab it or build it new, and you keep a certain percentage of the units affordable, tied to 60% or less of local incomes, you get a reduction in your assessment. And so there are now 15,000 units in Cook County that have affordability locked in for them, that provide the first time a protection against gentrification as rents are rising around. So that we think this can really help In this community and communities surrounding it, we want to get more buildings enrolled in that program. We also think we need a property tax relief program. If your bills are going up by 25% or more, we propose a program that will be funded by the state that would provide relief for up to half of the increase in your bill for 3 years. And that would be delivered to you to help shield, to cushion you against the shock of rising property tax bills. Lastly, we think some of these exemptions need changing. We want to increase the threshold for the senior freeze, and we think the senior freeze should renew automatically every year. So these are things we're pushing for right now.
No, and thank you for saying that. I think that you know, all of the exemptions, all of these things are people that people know about, but they don't know how to have access to. And with that, and you alluded to some of the issues that you've seen, right, in terms of like from immigration to somewhat, maybe I didn't know that my grandma counted already, right? And with that, you know, I wanted to turn it over to the alderwoman because, so you know how I said we were in the trenches. So I have firsthand seen you before you were an alderwoman working with like thousands of people as they were like coming when you were at County Commissioner Naya's office, working with people, filling the form. I feel like you knew what box 7 was before I knew what. And so, I mean, I really mean it. We should give it up for Alderwoman for this, because that work was completely, you helped so many families in the Southwest side. Thank you so much, Alderwoman, for that. And I would like to say that, and I would like to ask, based on what you have seen and based on what the assessor just said, like, what are some of the things that you firsthand have seen in the neighborhood as people are coming in asking about any of the exceptions or what have you?
Yeah, so housing issues we have all around the city, but especially here in the Southwest side, rents are so high. It's something that we're also working in the city because many of the apartments are not up to code. Many constituents come into our office seeking for help because the living situation, you know, the roofs are coming down, the walls are with mold and so forth. So many things that we've been working also with the Department of Buildings in the city. But especially homeowners, they always come in worried about their property tax bill, or people wanting to move from renting to owning a property. We all know right now prices are so high, and there's many affordable options in our community. So we would be helping in new developments actually in our 14th ward, pushing for new developers to have affordable housing, to see the market, to see the value of the people coming and rent from them in a new facility, but also being able to provide good rent price. But also, some people that would like to make some improvements in their homes are worried because they think that by doing that, their property taxes are gonna get higher. And it's something that we've been talking to them, that the property taxes just evaluate the amount of rooms they have, bathrooms, if it's brick or wood outside. It's just the bones of your house. So if you make a change, if you renew your bathroom, if you renew your kitchen, if you put granite or quartz or anything, that would never impact your property taxes.
True.
Sometimes our community are worried that if they do something, it will increase the value in property taxes. It would increase the value if you were to sell it, right? The real estate value is gonna be different from a house that it's renovated and so forth, but not for the bone and the property taxes. So when they're doing the appeals, for example, and they're looking for comparisons, oh no, but my house is like, my neighbor just did so-and-so, the upkeep, the kitchen and the bathroom is like, I cannot compare it to them. And it's where we explain to them that the assessor's office is just taking care of the bones. Like, it doesn't matter if your property has new flooring or not, you will never pay more taxes for that. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. Also, people, sir.
So just from a show of hands here, who thought before you heard from the alderwoman, just from a show of hands, that you thought that if you fixed your kitchen up, your property taxes were gonna go up? So you all knew this information already? Who thought, que no sepa nadie que hice esto. Okay? So I just want you to, because part of what we're trying to do is debunk these things, right? Right? How many of us did not do that, right? So anyway, I just wanted for you to really take this information and really take it in, and even as we're going out there, to think about asking questions and what have you. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, thank you. And I also, you know, there was also this new ordinance that we just passed in City Council this week about the ADU ordinance, right? So people will be able to now have legally basements and coach houses, garden houses, like you were mentioning, it's called as well. And then you'll go about those new changes and how property taxes will include for those. But then there's new opportunities for people to have these opportunities to create more housing in our neighborhoods, but also being able to provide a good rental property, right? In good up to code and everything what I was mentioning before, because that's so important. Like it really breaks my heart when community members come in and the conditions are leaving. That's why we totally need to work on that, but I'm happy to support it in our office. You know, also we've done it, as Osvaldo mentioned, I've done it with the commissioner. Now as an alderwoman, we continue to do it in our office. Exemptions and everything. So happy to continue to help out with my staff and doing all that. And appeal season for our Lake Township is open right now, so we need to take advantage of that.
Now, so okay, even and I keep on looking at those like bungalows and those. I did not grow up in a bungalow. I did not grow up with a basement. I did not grow up with any of that, right? But I do know that many times a lot of our homeowners that have basements, they get flooded all the time, right? And then they fix it, and it's a lot of the damages and what have you. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then maybe if we can talk a little bit about what kind of resources are out there for people who experience flooding?
Thank you, Osvaldo. Unfortunately, you know, here in the Southwest side, we got hit really bad and hard this past summer. July and August, we experienced 2 floodings where people had from few inches to several feet of water, where they lost everything right in their homes. So we're pushing for funding. Right now, there's no funding for people to get reimbursements or repairs. We're still working with state and federal partners to get that funding for our constituents. And I'm even planning going to veto session in October to continue to advocate for that with our state representatives and senators and with the governor. But I know there's something that the assessor could let us know that we can apply, because people that lost all their appliances, washer, dryer, heater, ACs, you name it, there's an opportunity for them to get a discount when they appeal.
That's right. So at the assessor's office, if flooding has impaired the value of your home, if it's structurally damaged at the foundation, the walls, and you can document that, you know, we can, on an appeal, reduce the value of your home, because flooding can diminish the value of your home. And we see this in our work, you know, when we're looking at what are the forces that drive the values of people's homes. We not only look at the federal flood zones, the FEMA flood zones where you might be required to get special flooding insurance, but we're also looking at sources of data that are tracking rising risk of flooding, or a change in the risk of flooding. And so we take this into account in our assessments, but we might have missed some other things that are impairing the value of your home. So these are the kinds of things that we can hear and listen for. When we had flooding hit the west side of Chicago last year, we were able to provide relief for them, and we can do that again here in the southwest side. And we know there are some parts of the southwest side where there is, you know, a pretty significantly increased level of risk for flooding.
And Assessor, this relief is open to people with or without papers.
It is for anyone who owns property. All the benefits that we have at our office, there is no citizenship test whatsoever. Anyone can own property in the United States, and we provide benefits for everyone. So we don't even ask about citizenship because it's not appropriate. Because people have to pay property taxes regardless of their citizenship. The benefits that we offer are for everyone, regardless of their citizenship. And we are present in communities. We work with organizations, and we're very careful to make sure that we're providing benefits to everyone where it's available. We have multilingual staff. We had 217 outreach events last year, one for almost every business day. 60 of them were in Spanish. We pay bonuses to people who speak Spanish fluently for joining our team, and we're always on the lookout for more people to work with you in communities to make sure that everyone's taking advantage. The other thing that I wanted to mention in terms of repairs, if you're doing repairs and rehab, and we have some organizations here like the Neighborhood Housing Services that helps to pay for rehabilitation to upkeep homes, is that upgrading your home, if you're not changing the square footage, is generally not going to result in any change in your assessment. I want everyone to know that. And if you're building an ADU, if your neighbor builds an ADU, it's not going to impact your own assessment. And it's going to take us years to look at this ADU law that passes to change any practice from that. We require years of past pattern to change some of the ways that we go about assessing homes. So I wouldn't be too worried about ADUs changing how you're going to be assessed. If you add footage to your home, that does tend to change the value of your property, but there's also another exemption. It's the home improvement exemption. If you're paying up to $65,000 to do a repair that expands the footage of your home, your assessment is not increased for several years afterwards. So that's an important exemption that you automatically get when you make a rehab for your home.
And now if I could actually switch it to Edwin, because it was a very good transition about ADUs. I had no idea what an ADU was. So Edwin, if you can tell us what is ADU, give us the common terms that you hear out there. How do people know what an ADU is, right? And how is this going to benefit and affect us?
Sure, Oswaldo. So an ADU is an acronym for an additional dwelling unit. Those are often called basement units, attic units, granny flats, coach houses. There's a number of terms that are out there. But when we talk about ADUs, we're usually talking about either a coach house, which is a detached building, usually in the rear of an existing property, or a conversion unit, which is an attic or basement conversion that is rehabbed to be an apartment. And I really want to highlight something that's like ADUs, coach houses, granny flats, whatever you want to call them, were one of the most common housing types for affordable housing in Chicago for decades and decades up until 1957.
Just to clarify, ADU is like if I had a place in my garage, like in LA.
Yes.
Like an apartment in my garage.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. Or
okay.
if you have a basement.
Can I ask a clarification question on that ordinance, though, real quickly?
Yes.
So I know it just passed this week, and we're getting used to what the specifics of it are, but my understanding is that there's a couple of amendments that were made, one of which is that it's not automatic that everybody in the city is allowed to do that. It has to be something that the alderman or alderwoman in that ward opts in. And then secondly, there's another requirement that says it's not like, your Theo or somebody that who has construction experience can go rehab your basement or do that add-on, that it has to be a federally sponsored apprenticeship program or a federally recognized apprenticeship program in union labor to do that. How does that affect the likelihood that people are going to actually build these flats?
So let me clarify that first point. ADUs in all types, coach houses and basement and attic conversions are now legal by right in all residential zones that allow for multifamily buildings. So that's any lots that are zoned RM or RT, and any commercial and business districts that allow for residential zoning, for residential uses. It's only in single-family districts that aldermen have to opt in order to make those allowed. And we do have, what we did is took the existing 5 pilot areas that we had from the previous ordinance in 2021 and made those residential single-family pilot zones. So any single-family areas within those 5 zones, which I believe there is one in the southwest side, can already do ADUs by right without the alderman having to opt in. But we do encourage aldermen that want to see gentle density and the expansion of affordable rental units in their wards happen organically and without completely altering neighborhood context, without us having to plop down a residential tower in the middle of a low-density neighborhood, to opt in, because it allows for exactly that, for gentle density, for more housing options, and it allows for, Oswaldo, you mentioned it, Teresa, you mentioned it, Alderwoman, you mentioned it, multi-generational living. It is so common in our community, and one of the biggest benefits that we get from ADUs is that it creates an opportunity for multi-generational living that serves all of us. It gives us an opportunity for grandma to be in the coach house in the backyard and not have to, that offers child care services or child care support that offers the ability to keep an eye on her and make sure that she's doing all right, keep her close by. It offers opportunities for our adult children coming back from college to have a place to live and not move back into their parents' house. And it also helps homeowners that are struggling with property taxes, that are struggling with rising housing costs, to generate a little bit of rental income to help offset those costs. Also, one thing that I want to highlight about this new ordinance, two things that do something that was different before and we didn't allow before. The first, it allows for the reduction of parking, and it doesn't add any new parking requirements. That means that we can build density without the added cost of building parking, but it also means that we can build accessible units for people that need access at grade that can't be going up and down stairs. You can now turn that empty garage that you haven't used in 20 years and that you just use for storage, you can turn that into a housing unit that someone can benefit from. And we also allow for at-grade ADUs in commercial districts. So all these vacant storefronts that haven't been used can now be pivoted to housing where it makes sense, as long as we're not altering the nature of the commercial corridor. We do have requirements that the majority of the commercial corridor still be used for commercial purposes, but now we can make vibrant, mixed-use communities where we have the small shop with the apartment next door, so the small business owner can live right next to where they work.
And if I may, and so assuming that let's say I have my house and I built my unit in my garage, right? Assuming that my alderwoman, which we did opt in, right? I believe so, right? Okay. One, and assuming that I did build it with the appropriate or the required what have you, right? So, assessor, are my property taxes going to go up?
Oswaldo, I just want to address Teresa's second question real quick.
Oh, okay.
Because there is an apprenticeship requirement, but that apprenticeship requirement only applies to new construction coach houses. So if you are building a basement unit or rehabbing an existing unit, those requirements do not apply. Those will only apply if you're building a brand new coach house in the rear of the property. Okay. So the thousands of illegal basement units that are out there that we want to bring up to code, to your point, Alderwoman, those will not have those added construction costs. Those can just go through the normal process, get the zoning, and be brought online.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, so Oswaldo, for the viewers, you were asking.
Yes, that's right. I was asking, let's pretend that now I have my unit. Are my property taxes going to go up?
So if you build a new unit that adds to the habitable square footage of your property, it will eventually lead to an increase in its assessment. But let's take a closer look at that. It's probably not going to increase the assessed value per square foot of your home. So if you're adding 10% to the footage of your property by building a new unit, eventually it may lead to up to a 10% increase in its assessment, but that will only happen over time because, first of all, you have the home improvement exemption that's applied automatically that will stay in place for the 5 years. So that will delay any impact from that investment that you make. And again, it's not going to raise the dollar per square foot of your house, which I know a lot of people are worried about. And I know some folks out there are worried that if my neighbor builds an ADU, is that going to increase the assessment on my house? The data says no, and if somehow we see a change in pattern, it will take years for us to recognize that, and we doubt it would happen.
Yeah, thank you for that, assessor. I believe that so affordable housing is a big part of the reason why ADUs exist, right? So I don't know, Edwin, can you tell us a little bit about other strategies that are out there in affordable housing that we would like to share?
So I guess I'll stick with ADUs just for a second, because one of the other fun parts about the ADU ordinance is that it does have an affordability requirement. So if you are building more than one ADU on a lot, every other ADU is a legally restricted affordable unit. So not only are we building gentle density, we are also intentionally building affordability through this program. In terms of just increasing affordability across the city, I think Assessor Kagi mentioned our really steep shortage of affordable units. Currently sits somewhere around 120,000 units. So earlier this year, the administration passed the Green Social Housing Ordinance. This is a new tool for us to develop mixed income affordable housing in the city of Chicago. The Green Social Housing Ordinance will create large scale residential developments. We're talking 100, 150 plus units, and at least 30% of all the units in those buildings will be affordable. So that lets us, again, talking about those mixed income development, we don't want to concentrate poverty. We want to create vibrant mixed income communities where everyone can grow and thrive. Green social housing lets us do that. We also, earlier this year, released our qualified allocation plan. That is the way in which Chicago allocates our low-income housing tax credits. LIHTC, or the low-income housing tax credit, is our primary tool for developing affordable housing. It is a federal resource, and it is the #1 go-to for affordable development. And we've done a full revamp of the QAP to align with the administration's Build Back Better Together and Cut the Tape initiatives to streamline processes, cut down costs, and make construction faster and easier. And along with that, revamped our ATSM, our Architectural Technical Standards Manual. Sorry, a lot of acronyms in government work, folks.
Yeah.
But that does the same. It makes construction easier. It makes it easier to get all the approvals, all the permits, all the design requirements that you need to go and build. And we're building in flexibility, we're building in transparency, we're making it easier to build and to build affordably in the city of Chicago.
Okay. And Assessor, any other affordable housing programs that are offered by your office?
Absolutely. So we administer the Affordable Housing Special Assessment Program. I mentioned that this was the law passed in 2021 by the Illinois General Assembly, that if you have a building, an apartment building that has 7 units or more, and you're making a qualified rehabilitation or repair to it, or if you're building it new, you as an owner of that building can get a reduction in your assessment if you keep a certain percentage of your units tied to local incomes. So if you have 15% of your units that are tied to 60% or less of the local median income, you can get a 15% reduction in your assessment. And that goes all the way up to 35%. If you have 35% of your units tied to affordability, you get a 35% reduction in your assessment. And so that is really becoming attractive for new developers. We're seeing several cranes swinging in the skies of Chicago right now, building apartment buildings, including one of the tallest buildings that's planned in the city, right where the Calatrava drill bit was going to be. We're seeing 2 towers go up, which are going to include a lot of affordable housing. And so that's resulting in a real change where we mentioned that there's a need for 120,000 affordable units in Chicago. The Affordable Housing Special Assessment Program, just created a few years ago, there are now 15,000 affordable units tied in here. And it's very important because it locks in affordability for those renters when they previously were not protected from the effects of gentrification and rising rents. You can go to our website, and if you look up Affordable Housing Data Map, go to Google and look up Affordable Housing Data Map. Our site pops up first, and it shows a list of all these properties around here, and there's several here right nearby at 63rd and Kedzie. If you go up and down Kedzie, you'll see some of the properties that are enrolled, and there's some east of here, but also it gives you a chance to see where we're seeing our local leaders embracing the creation of these properties, but also I think you can also see some areas where people are not allowing these properties to be built. And I think everyone should be asking, hey, we have all-time low vacancy in apartments, Mr. Local Leader or Mrs. Local Leader. Could we have more affordable units here? Could we get more people joining the program? I wanted to point out our Director of Affordable Housing Outreach here, John McDonald, right there in the back. And for the viewers here, you can go to our website, reach out to John McDonnell, and realize how to enroll. It is really doing a great job to preserve the stock of housing, to have it restored, and to have it expanded. And we've just seen steady growth here. We expect to see more. The General Assembly just expanded and extended this program in the spring session. So we know there have been a lot of projects that we're waiting for that. So we expect to see thousands of more units come online.
Okay, so affordable housing data map, right?
Affordable housing data map.
Okay,
Do it in
everyone, go on your
Google.
phones.
It's the first one that comes up.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Assessor. Now, I mean, I did see the time, and I'd like to shift gears a little bit. And we did touch a little bit about it, and we've been touching a little bit about it as we keep on in the conversation. But I don't want to shy away from any issues, right? And we are in the southwest side of the city of Chicago. We are in a very heavy immigrant area of the city of Chicago, of the state of Illinois. And I do know that there's a lot of concerns right now. And so with that, actually, I'd like to go to you, Alderwoman, to talk a little bit about what are you hearing right now, specifically as it relates to housing and as it relates to with everything going on.
You know, unfortunately, we're living in really unprecedented times where a lot of our community members are in fear because of ICE presence in our communities. Many of them are property owners, and they're worried if something were to happen to them, of course, what's going to happen with their kids, and we're asking them to have a plan who's going to take care of them, you know. But also now we're asking them to also make a plan for their assets and their properties. Either if they add someone from a family member to the deed, for them to make a decision, if later on they need to sell their property or do something for it, who's going to take care of the mortgage and so forth. So I also want to encourage you to go to the workshop that they're providing here today. They're going to talk about all those plans, but also talk to your family members and think about, God forbid something happen, what's the plan for your family and your assets to be protected. But also, many of our family members are struggling, of course, with utility bills and everything. Cost of living is so high right now. And as Dr. Cordova mentioned, a high number of their paycheck goes on mortgage, rent, utility bills. So also would like to encourage you all to, if you're able to apply for SETA, right? Those are discounts on your utility bills. Seniors could also apply for a discount on the sewer usage in their water bill. So there's a couple of different options for you guys to take advantage of some discounts or some affordable opportunities, right, to pay all those bills and stuff. Reach out to our offices so we can help you to apply. But also take advantage of the appeals, as we said, but also the exemptions, right? If you, for some reason, haven't done them, you could apply for the certificate of error 4 years back. So you can get all those reimbursements. With all that money that they could send you back, you can pay your bills or you can pay other bills with it. So take advantage of that as well. And then also as a reminder, there's 2 opportunities to appeal your property taxes. One with the assessor's office, the second one with the Bureau of Review. Don't wait until the second one. If you can, do both.
Well, thank you for that, Alderwoman. And Edwin, do you know of any kind of protections from the city of Chicago that immigrants have, specifically immigrants who own homes?
So no specific protections like that, but we do have, the city does have a welcoming city ordinance. The welcoming city ordinance is basically what makes Chicago a sanctuary city, and it explicitly prohibits any government official, any government employee at the city from interacting, asking about immigration status, or interacting with federal immigration enforcement. So what we are trying to do is really make our public services as accessible as we can to everyone, regardless of citizenship status. And that's true also for our programs in the department. Programs like our home repair program to address some of the issues that the Alderman mentioned, our emergency heat repair program, which as we get into the winter is ever so crucial, and our down payment assistance programs, our housing counseling centers are all available to everyone regardless of immigration status. We are really trying to do the most that we can to make all of our services, all of our programs, all of our assistance accessible to everyone. Whether or not you are a citizen, if you are a Chicagoan, you should have access to these services.
Yeah, and just to talk about that, any city service, any government service whatsoever, it's provided to every single one of our constituents. We would never ask about your status, these services, these programs, these discounts. Everything is for everyone. And we would never share none of your information with no agencies. So you need to be sure that your information in our government, in our offices, are in a safe place. We're never going to share anything, and you really need to take advantage of everything because it's for every single one of our constituents.
And if I may ask, I mean, because I do want to actually bring in a little bit of your perspective, Dr. Cordova. You're a researcher. You're in many ways to me you're a historian because you know all of these different pieces. This is not the first time that Latinos have gone through something like this. We all know of Operation Wetback. Right now we have Operation Midway Blitz. And it just keeps on being the removal of Latinos and Mexicans and what have you, right? So I want to know from your perspective, what's different now, right? I mean, I feel like in all of this, is there anything that it's at least different and more, and we have a little bit more power? From your perspective, how do you see all of this?
So we're going to go there, huh?
We're going to go there.
There's a very significant difference. Let me say a couple of things to set up that answer to that question. One of which, you've been hearing folks, the alderwoman, folks from the housing department of the city, the assessor's office of the county, talking about how these services are available to all people who own property, regardless of their citizenship. I want to remind us something we all know, which is we have paid into those, right? Latinos are a very important part of the economy, right? Whether in the whole range of taxes that are paid, as consumers, as business owners, as workers. So the vitality of this economy is very much a function of our presence. And in a lot of ways, our presence here has helped save and stabilize our economy, provide growth to our economy. And so so part of that also points to, over the years, the ebbs and flows of our presence here, as it relates even to federal immigration policy, has been very much in line with the ups and downs of the needs for our labor. So when they want us, they'll recruit us to work in the steel mills. They'll recruit us to work on the railroad. The Depression hits, they don't want us, they'll send us back. They repatriate us. And you can see that over the last century plus, right, how that trend has continued. To your question, what's different is in all those different moments of deportations and repatriation, folks were deported. What's different now is they're being detained, right? So they're being detained for long periods of time without due process, without any kind of access, wondering where they are, not getting the numbers of meals, having to pay for cups, this and that, or even to get some water. What's different? The industry known as the detention center industry. It's a huge billion-dollar industry. And there are some groups that are making major buku bucks, even just in this quarter. So what's different is that there is a huge economic incentive not to deport, but to detain. And I think we really need to look at that as a federal policy, because it's not our local businesses that are benefiting from this, certainly not our families and our households, and it's not even our corporations, right, that are benefiting from this. It is this particular industry that benefits most, not by deporting us, but by detaining us for long periods of time without a due process. So I think that's an important kind of context that helps explain some of what's going on.
Well, and I would like to say that another big difference that I'm observing, just as I'm seeing here, is that we have this leadership now, right? I mean, we truly do, right? I'm not sure what it was in the 50s. I'm not sure what it was before. But seeing this right now is giving me some sort of hope, right? And that we are all in this together, fighting for this together.
See, and I appreciate you going to a positive response to what I said, right? Which is we've always got to come back to where's the hope, where's the possibility for organizing? How do we come together? Because Lord knows we do need to come together on these issues.
That's right. That's right. Okay, I do know that we're already almost out of time. I do want to give an opportunity for any of you to give any kind of closing statement, thought, anything that you're thinking about. We touched on a whole lot of issues, right? From the, oh my God, ADU, right? to housing, to renting, to what's going on right now. Any closing thoughts before we close the panel and let folks go to their concurrent sessions?
Well, first of all, thank everyone for being here. Take advantage of the sessions. I want, first of all, just to reemphasize the point, because it does bear repeating. In America, in Illinois, in Cook County, anyone can own property, and therefore, anyone who owns property is entitled to the benefits of owning that property, regardless of citizenship. And we at the Assessor's Office are here for those folks who are here today in the auditorium or watching us online. I want to make sure that you know that these benefits are available to you, and these benefits are big. The exemption, the homeowner's exemption, is the biggest way to achieve property tax savings in Chicago. It's worth almost $1,000. In some of our neighboring suburbs, like in Summit, elsewhere nearby here, it's worth more than $1,000 a year, just for if that's your main residence. If you're a senior, you're entitled to another exemption, another source of savings. And we've really tried to make these exemptions easier for people to keep. We made the seniors exemption automatically renew. We worked with legislators so that people with disabilities get easier automatic renewal for their exemption. We're also pushing for automatic renewal of the senior freeze in the fall session because right now you have to demonstrate your income every year to get the senior freeze, which is the best way to protect yourself from rising property values from displacing you. We're trying to get that to renew every year because our state keeps track of income. We can just check that income information with the state so that our 100,000 seniors in Cook County who own homes don't have to go through this annual process of demonstrating that. Because we see seniors coming to our office every year having to go through this arduous process, sometimes in walkers, sometimes in really cold weather, and now with the additional dangers of being out on the streets, we want to make sure that everyone's taking advantage of that automatic renewal of the freeze that's possible under the law. We're also pushing for a property tax relief program called a circuit breaker. So if your bill spiked 25% or more, if it goes up 25% or more, we think you should get 3 years of relief for up to half of the increase in your bill if your income is below a certain level. And we're pushing for that in the legislature. 29 other states have programs like this. It's a cornerstone part of their property tax systems. We need it here in Illinois for our communities so people aren't displaced in this time of pinched affordability. And we want to make sure everyone's taking advantage of the appeals process. If you've had especially damage to your home through natural disasters, or if your home is below average in any way. Generally, we only see homes as being average for their kind. We have lots of information about homes, but if your home hasn't been rehabbed in decades, if it has other problems that we might not be aware of, tell us about it in your appeal, and we'll compare your home to a below average home rather than an average one, and that can lead to a reduction.
Thank you.
Edwin? I'll try to be brief. It's not a skill that I have, but first, I
20 seconds.
Thank you, Assessor Kagi, and all your staff for inviting us. One of the questions that we get most of the Department of Housing is, I need help with my property taxes, what can I do? And now we have actual resources, actual things that we can share with our constituents, with our residents about how to work on their property taxes and how to get that relief. I do want to have two quick shameless plugs because we are here at Daley College. The Department of Housing is hosting a State of Latino Housing panel. You'll be able to hear from Teresa, who will be part of our panel, on October 14th at Arturo Velazquez Institute, so the satellite location for Daley College at 10 a.m. So we would love if you all would come out to it. There is a Department of Housing table outside. We have information there. So please stop by, grab that information, and come check out. We'll be talking about home ownership, but we'll also be talking about gentrification and displacement, the general lack of affordable housing, and how Latinos communities can come together to preserve our housing stability and our culture here, especially now that we're under threat. I also want to plug the Department of Housing's Homegrown program. That is a down payment assistance program that is available to everyone across the city. So if you are interested in becoming a homeowner, but you need a little bit of extra support to get that down payment to put that money down so you can own a home, that program will be launching early next year. And you can get down payment assistance program or down payment assistance if you are a first-time homeowner. So be on the lookout for that. More information will be coming out later this year, but we expect to launch sometime in the first quarter of 2026.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone, and I especially want to thank the Assessor's Office, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Appreciate also we're ending on a really positive note about the things that are good things that are happening and all the good people that are making it happen. So thank you. I also appreciate that we're talking about context and trends over time, so appreciate that.
Thank you, Assessor, your team, and everyone here. We're going to continue to work for our constituents, regardless their immigration status. We'll keep saying that over and over. Please come to our office if you need help with this. We're going to continue to partner to have events for appeals throughout this time, but also Cook County Commissioner Alma Anaya has been also instrumental in helping with these appeals and exemptions. So come to our offices. We're happy to help you out and continue to provide services in English and Spanish and Polish if needed. But yeah, if anything else we can help with, please let us know. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay. And with that, please join me and give it up for our panel. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you.